Alright, so guys, I'm just here playing some Check It with Leela, and just wanted to talk about, so when it comes to spaying your dog, I wanted to tell you guys about the experience that I had, as well as sort of, everything I've learned over the years. So Leela, as you guys know, I got her from a breeder, and the breeder actually on her contract had like a stipulation that we couldn't spay her until she's at least had her first heat cycle, or was until she's had her first heat cycle. So originally, I had her in a daycare when she was, a puppy, and they were pressuring me to spay her at like 6 months old, or she couldn't come back to the daycare. And so I was actually like, oh my God, like I should do this, like this daycare is so good. And then I held off because it was in my contract, obviously, and I didn't want to break the contract. So I ended up waiting, just taking her out of daycare and finding another daycare that was actually okay with dogs that were unspayed or unneutered, as long as the females weren't in heat while they were at the daycare. So anyways, I ended up waiting, and we ended up spaying her after her second heat cycle. We waited a few months, so she was about 2.5 actually. She was 2.5 when we spayed her. So the experience was something. The actual spay process, she was fine. I mean, she went into surgery, came out totally fine, like no issues. They gave us like a garment to wear, which basically, just kept her from getting at her stitches. But she was totally fine. Everything like that. The procedure itself was about $800 or $900 down. We'll have a break. Was about $800 or $900. We took her to our vet. It can be cheaper if you take them to like an SPCA or like a training school, but I just know my vet and I trusted him, so we did that. It's also pricier because she was older and female, so spaying is more expensive than neutering, and also the longer you wait, it becomes a little bit more of a intricate surgery. But anyways, the benefits, oh my finger, the benefits for us were outweighed. So then she came home, she was totally fine. And then about a year later, so it just actually happened this past December, she started like in her sleep, she would pee a little bit. So I did more research, and it's actually pretty common. It's called spay incontinence. So it happens to females. It's pretty common in Dobermans actually, if they've been spayed. And I mean, the whole thing is, it shouldn't, because we did it later, it's supposed to help prevent it from happening, but she still got it. So basically when she was sleeping, she'd pee a little. And it was, really uncomfortable. We'd have to always wash her sheets, and, I'm sure she didn't, like that smell. So I went to the vet, and he gave us some hormone pills. Basically, he said take one every day for the first week, and then we tailor it down. Well, let me tell you, within the first 3 days of taking it, it basically pushed her into heat. She was swollen, she was bleeding, it was crazy. So I called my vet and I said, what is going on? Like, how's this even possible? So anyways, it turns out she's just extremely sensitive to the hormones. So she's actually only taking one pill every 6 weeks now. Like, it's so minimal, and she's great. She hasn't had an accident in months. She has no side effects. So she's doing good on that. So in the end, everything worked out, but it was just quite the process, from getting her spayed, and then with that incontinence. Now, the reason we waited until she was after her second heat cycle was because the breeder, I know that she said to wait for 1 year. But then she was sending us all sorts of articles. They really need their hormones, to grow properly. And when you spay them or neuter them too early, they lose that hormone that they need to grow, and you end up with all sorts of other issues down the line. Now, I know they say, if you spay late, they're more prone to cancers. They're more prone to cancers if you spay too early or neuter too early. They're also more prone to like hip dysplasia and all sorts of like bone issues. Because they haven't been able to properly grow down. So, it used to be back in the day, you spay your dogs or neuter your dogs, really, really early. But nowadays there's more and more research proving otherwise. So please, wait if you can to spay your dog till at least, their first or second heat cycle. And if you're going to neuter, they recommend even later to neuter at a minimum of like 18 months because the male dogs take even longer to mature than the female dogs. So yeah, that was sort of our experience. To be honest, we spayed her because with females, it's more important than males. Like if you have a male, you don't need to neuter them. Just keep them, make sure they don't do anything naughty, but you don't actually need to neuter them. With females, if they don't have litters, eventually they can actually get something called pyometra, which is like an infection in their uterus. Down. Piggy here, down. Which is an infection in their uterus, and so that's why it's so important, and that's life-threatening. So that's why it's important to spay your female if they're not going to, have litters. And the other thing with Leela was that she actually had false pregnancies after her last heat cycle, which basically means that she thought she was like pregnant and had puppies. And so it was really stressful for her emotionally. She was going around the house collecting all my daughter's stuffed animals and putting them in her crate and pretending they were her babies. And she couldn't sleep at night. She was so worried that all her, little puppies were, all together and not lost. So it was a really emotional time for her, and the vet said that it'll just get worse, these false pregnancies. So that's why we spayed her. So we spayed her because obviously we don't want her to get pyometra because that's life-threatening. Also, we didn't want her to deal with the false pregnancies. And the fact that we waited, was the right decision. She was able to mature. If we had a male, we probably wouldn't have neutered him unless there was some kind of physical reason we needed to. Males, there's no really health risk to having them, keep their testicles. But yeah, so that's the story of that. If you guys have questions, let me know. But yeah, just do your research. Don't let your vet basically bully you into spaying and neutering too early. Some vets just really, were trained the old-fashioned way and haven't changed their mindset. And some vets, I'm sure, it's just for the money, So just do your research. Every breed is different. The smaller breeds mature a little bit faster. Or larger breeds obviously take longer, and they really need that hormone to succeed. Down. So please, just do your research and don't let the vets bully you. All right, so the other thing I wanted to talk about was sort of the breeder, how I found her, what the process was. So I think I've touched base on this before, but I'll go into a little bit more detail. So we realized we wanted a Doberman just because of everything we've read. Down. And we realized, so just with everything we read, we really wanted a Doberman. So I started researching different breeders in the area. I reached out to a few. And a few of them responded, but I went on like red flag deals and forums and Doberman posts, and there were like 3 top breeders in the area, like around the GTA, like the Greater Toronto area. So I started reaching out to them, and the one that I picked had really good like reviews. She was known to breed like family Dobermans, they weren't bred like they're not working line Dobermans. Her goal was to breed for family. She had all of the parental, genetics and history and grandparents and everything. So based on what I read online, the reviews were really good. So then I reached out to her. It was an interview process. I remember my first phone call with her lasted about an hour. She asked me so many questions about my family, my lifestyle, my experience with dogs. And then same with her, like I asked about, how many litters a year does she do? You want to stay away from a breeder who does too many litters a year, because then you kind of end up on, more of puppy mill situation or backyard breeder situation. Not puppy mill, more backyard breeder. So she does about 4 litters a year, and it's always, different, different moms. So she had really good reviews. So then the next step was for me to go meet her, and I met the parents. So we drove over to her place. Right away, we met the dad, the mom. They were both exceptional personalities, really stable, friendly. She talked to us we were there for honestly probably 3 hours. She walked us around her home. She showed us, you know, everything, all the papers. So we felt really comfortable with her. Like, you know, she really takes her breeding seriously. In her contract, she has a stipulation where, you know, if you ever have to rehome your Doberman, that, you know, to bring it to her, she doesn't want any of her dogs to ever end up in a shelter. So that's that's what a responsible breeder is. They will never let any of their dogs end up in a shelter. You know, they are doing the best by the dog. And they also won't just give their dog to anyone. They're going to give their dog to somebody that they vetted. Down. So when you're looking for a breeder, ask them these questions. Ask them, how many litters do they breed a year? Ask them, do they have the paperwork for the parents and grandparents, or the lineage? And you're looking for genetic testing, you know, have they done the Wobbler syndrome testing, all that other testing genetically. When it comes to DCM, dilated cardiomyopathy also, stay away from breeders who tell you there's none in their lines, because it's not actually something that you can 100% guarantee. Now, Leela has had her NBUC genetic test done, and she actually has like one of the genes that is potentially more prone to it, but that doesn't mean that she's going to get it. So breeders who promise you that this has been breeded out of their dogs is most likely not telling you the truth, or they are just, you know, they think they have and they haven't. So make sure that you do your research when it comes to that. But yeah, everything else, you know, while they should have their heart tests done, so her parents had the heart tests done, you know, the ECGs, everything came back good. So yeah, it was just as clean of a, you know, genetic background as possible. And then we have her grandparents, everything in the line. You want to, you know, they're going to charge you a reasonable amount of money. Like any Doberman, you're not going to get one for, you know, less than a couple $1,000s. Anything you see for a couple $100s, that's a backyard breeder, or, you know, that's not going to be a well-bred dog. Ask for references. Ask her if you can talk to other families who've, you know, adopted the dog. And then ask what happens if, you know, God forbid something ever happens, you have to give up your Doberman. What happens? Will they take it back? That's the number one, like, tell of a good Doberman breeder. The ones who, you know, just give you the dog away and see you later, goodbye, they don't care what happens to the dog. The ones that are, you know, telling you that, you know, they don't let that dog go anywhere but back to me, that's a good breeder. So yeah, those are some of the things to look for, guys. So just, you know, forums for me is the best place to start. You're getting real people's experiences of you know, people who've taken the dogs and dealt with the breeder. So that's a good place to start. Then reach out to the breeder and see how they treat you, see how they react, and, you know, see what their sort of protocols are, and then you can make a decision from there. You know, there are good breeders out there. It's just they're very picky, so it's not necessarily an easy process. But if you are looking for a well-bred dog and you're serious, there are good breeders who you can find who will support you, you know, through your dog's life, and help you with, you know, your life decisions with the dog. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful. Again, I'm so sorry that it's been, I think, 3 weeks or so since I've posted. I've just been so busy with my new job, and it's just been really overwhelming. So I'm hoping that it kind of stabilizes and I can, you know, focus on some more videos again. But yeah, any questions below, please let me know. I look forward to talking to you guys soon, and hope you're enjoying, today is Sunday, so I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!